I want to talk about something about the timeline jump and quantum manifesting, quantum leaping that I've never heard anyone talk about, and also just no one can really prepare you for it, but maybe hearing this in this conversation will help you prepare a little bit. And so I think that we experience, timeline jumps and all these things all the time. Like there are infinite timelines, and when we put our attention onto one is when we collapse the perception of time into one reality. So, all of that to say is that I think that we experience this all the time in like small and large scale, but just this, I think because this timeline leap was so in my face, and because I was really dissecting it, I just was able to see it more clearly for what it is. And I think it's important because of what I do online, and also just because I think part of my passion and my joy and my curiosity is understanding reality. And so what happened was that I was in Ireland, right? Stranded in Ireland for 5 months in that void, and it was such a magical time. But what happened was I started doing dream life sleep hypnosis. You can sign up whenever you feel ready. If you feel ready, it is like the most powerful subconscious work I've ever done. I've done a lot of subconscious work. I've done a lot of work on my neuroplasticity, on rewiring the mind. It's how I healed my chronic illness. It's how I got to a place where I can travel the world full time. I couldn't leave my house before. I was bedridden, house ridden, like very chronically ill. I moved through a lot with subconscious work, with neuroplasticity, with working with the nervous system. And dream life sleep hypnosis uses the frequency of your own voice, which a lot of you guys do know, but if you're new here, sorry for the trap. You use the frequency of your own voice, and that mirrors to your brain exactly where it's stuck. So rapidly, when I started doing this is when things just like, I was not prepared for how quick and how intense the changes would be. Like immediately the next day, my physical appearance changed. I had the desire to dye my hair reddish brown, like whatever this is, auburn, and that was the first for me ever. But I felt like I needed to do that at that time, and I was called to do it because I think that pattern disruptor and that new identity was really important for my mind to like almost like bookmark that this is a new identity. Like this time that you're in, this is involving having a new identity, and having a physical change is oftentimes really helpful for that. That's why, I don't know, maybe you've heard this or not, but like there's oftentimes conversation, like when you're, and obviously when you're moving into a new timeline, a new version of you, like you'll be called to change your wardrobe, and like how you dress, and how you do your hair, and how you do your makeup, and how you, all these things. And so yeah, there's that part of it. So it started moving really quickly, right? And then this download of coming here to Portugal was just like all of a sudden in my face. And then as soon as I applied to come here, like to the house and everything, it was just like, yes, 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 yes. The doors open up, and here we are. And so I was like catapulted into this new timeline, which was very unexpected, but it was everything in it. It's everything in my dream life. Every time I'm falling asleep, I still need to make my new hypnosis. But when I'm listening to it, I just laugh at the part where it's talking about where I'm living, because it's like in a place with like-minded people and really health focused, like, or however I say it, like restaurants, and it's very walkable, and I can see the ocean from my house, and there's room for my animals to run around and play. And it's like, when I listen to it, I'm just like, this is so funny, like here we are. And so I arrive into this timeline, and that's the part where I think it's been beautiful, but it's been so interesting to witness. There's almost been like a crash out and just this, I'm trying to find the words for it. Like my nervous system has been adjusting to this version of me, especially because this version of me is so different than what I have been for the last like 2 years. For the last 2 years, year and a half, I was living in a van. I was like roughing it, living in a van in a glamping tent, showering outside with hot hose water, like in the farm in Italy, like living in mud, covered in mud pretty much. Like I was working with horses and animals, and we're an animal rescue, and there's just like, it was chaos, and all the people, all the animals, like just like like all the time. And then even in Ireland, like roughing it, I was living in a hay barn, living in a van, had my glamping tent. I didn't really go into it very often, but I was, you know, just very much living in the outdoors and like away from, especially in Ireland, but also in Italy, away from civilization and away from society. And I think that my divine team and my higher self like set that up perfectly, because by doing that and then reintegrating, I'm seeing the world so differently, which I think is really important for my earth mission. But this part here as my nervous system, this is the thing, like your nervous system, once you get into the new timeline, your nervous system then has to calibrate almost. And there's like an identity, like the part of me wants to be like, there's an identity crisis, but it's an identity shift. And I think it can feel alarming because there's so many layers to when this happens. So you have the nervous system calibration when you're in the new timeline. You have this identity shift. And then you have to consider like all the different parts that are hair everywhere that are affected by this. So like the subconscious, when it sees that you're having an identity shift, it will also freak out because it's going to be like, this is unknown, this is scary, this is potentially unsafe, and its job is to keep you safe. So it's like the nervous system subconscious can be freaking out as it's also adjusting, as you're changing, as you're shifting, as you're like going. So it kind of feels like a crash out, but it's not really, it's just a calibration. And so when I arrived here, it was so much to settle into, because at first I'm still in that like survival mode, like getting through that crazy story of the airport, which I shared in a few videos ago, and just like getting here, like, oh my gosh, wow, I'm here. And then I was very tired and I slept for a while, and I just got used to like being in a house again and like doing dishes with like endless water and having a hot shower and just like all that. And then I was very hungry, and I was just like so hungry, that was really interesting too, because I was not hungry at all in Ireland, because I was so at the end there, especially when I was trying to just sort out like my van and fixing my van and fixing the tent, because the tent was really moldy. And then I ended up just like abandoning ship, and I left my van there, left my tent there, just left. And I just had to move on and just separate. Like it wasn't worth my energy or my peace anymore. And that's exactly what we're getting into more in this. But I arrived, so I was not hungry at all. And the family friends that I was staying with at the end, once I put my van in the shop to hopefully get fixed at that last try, I was eating like so much sugar and like whatever they were making, and it was just very different than my diet. And I was like very grateful to like be kind of like taken care of in that and held in that, and like to have just a space to be. Like I was really, really grateful for that. But I also was like very achy, and like my body is not used to that kind of diet, and also that kind of like stress, and just like really fighting. There was a part of me, you know, like this happens too, this is applicable to when anyone is going through this. Like there was a part of me that was really holding on to the old timeline and to the old pretty much chaos. Like if I look at the van, if I look at the tent, they were like embodiments of the chaos that I was so used to, and the pattern of always trying to fix something that just wasn't meant to be fixed in my life. Like maybe someone else is meant to fix them and they'll enjoy them, but for me, you know, I would be in relationships and I would always be hanging on trying to fix it, or trying to make a situation work, or trying to fit a square into a circle, and it just was never going to work. And so I realized I was doing that, and I realized I was holding on, and I realized like that there's so much, like there was like a bit of like a lack mindset, like wanting to fix the van so that I could sell it and make a profit, or like clean the tent so that I could sell it and make a profit. And I was like, so the reason why I'm doing this is like a monetary thing. And I was like, you know how I can also make money is by being in peace and creating and doing what I love. And then also my health isn't compromised and my peace isn't compromised. And so I learned that lesson as I was leaving. And so I let go, right? Go into this new timeline. Hungry, like my body was adjusting to being in this. And then what has been interesting, so the identity shift has been happening. And as I'm letting go of that old version of me, and like I love her and I'm grateful for her, right? But I'm letting her go. I'm trying to navigate, and that's what we kind of are doing when we get into the new timeline. Like, we're trying to navigate, and the mind really wants to understand who we are now. The subconscious wants to like control, like, this is who I am now. And it wants to like the ego wants to put you in boxes and like figure it all out right away. But it can't. Like, I'm in a foreign country. I'm in a foreign timeline. I'm in a new environment, a new way of living, house living. And I'm figuring it out, and there has to be patience with that. So I've been working with the nervous system in that. And what happened last night was also, I think, notable is like on Instagram, I had put together this cute video of like just a bunch of clips that I have in a folder of like my travels, like some of the most like active, I guess, clips, and it was with like a upbeat song, and it was like the sorry, that's really loud, that car. What just talked?
It seems that car wanted to make its own.
ChatGPT is talking to me? It's just that it seems, I don't know if you guys could hear that. Have you been listening this whole time? Yeah, it's been listening for 12 minutes. Weird. That's really weird. Anyway, so I went to go, the topic was grandma lore. Like I was like, it was something about like how I was really taking it serious, that I want to have stories when I'm a grandma, which is true. Like, that's why part of the reason, the thing that like pushed me to start this nomadic lifestyle, and I'm so glad that I did, because it really, the question that I asked myself is like, what do I want to look back on my life as when I'm 80? Like, do I want to look back and like see that I stayed in California, or do I want to see that I took a chance on myself and like moved to another country like I had always wanted to do? And so the clips were just like all the crazy times of travel and whatnot. But it brought up that energy, and I think maybe later on it would be okay to share, but right now in this transition time, it brought up that energy of chaos that I had been living in and experiencing all the novelty through. And because I'm calibrating to this new way of still having novelty, but not through chaos, I put it in the archive. I decided to take it down because I was like, no, that's actually not it. And I think that going through that process of like editing it for like a few hours and then putting it up, it was almost like a little farewell to that energy. And what's interesting is from that is that, okay, archive, that's noted, the chaotic novelty, kind of chaos pushing the manifestations, like that energy I'm putting in the archive. But then that still leaves me with like, okay, well, what does this timeline look like? Like, what does peace and passion look like? And so if you've been watching my last few videos, it's like this breakthrough that I'm currently having right now is understanding peace. And it sounds funny because it sounds simple, and maybe it is simple to a lot of people, but I also know that it's not simple for a lot of people. I know that a lot of you understand how chaos is inevitable in the world, but oftentimes a lot of us, depending on how we're raised and everything, we're used to that chaos driving us forward. And what I was talking about with my aunt when I was having this breakthrough with her and she was channeling for me and whatnot, it was just how the subconscious will attach to chaos being the driving force and say that we need the chaos in order to learn, to have the spiritual growth, to like become who we're meant to be, to fulfill our karmic agreements and our karmic contracts and blah 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 blah. And perhaps that was true up until this point, but I feel that if you watch my videos, if you found this video, if you're here with me right now, if this is resonating, you're probably in this chapter, or maybe you already have been and you're just kind of reflecting back on your life. But in this chapter now where you're getting to know peace, where you're remembering peace. I think I said this in my last video, but I had just opened my journal and I didn't realize that the first page of my journal, before I started using it, I'm like halfway through and it's a pretty thick one, I wrote remembering peace. And so I got this journal a year ago, and it's so funny because a year ago is when Chaos, my horse, was in the womb, and I had named him Chaos because he was born out of chaos. Like, it was a very chaotic day when the breeding happened and everything. Like, it's a miracle nobody got hurt. And then he was born, stillborn, so he died. And as I reflect back on this year, I'm like, this is the year that like chaos died in my life. And it's not just the horse, like it's this way of operating. And so to write remembering peace in my journal, and to have this had been the year where I lost my baby horse Chaos, where Chaos died, where I left the timeline and the lifestyle of Chaos. Like I really felt like for the past few months I was cleaning up the life choices that I had made out of that pattern of chaos. Like cleaning up the decision about doing van life, cleaning up the decision about having the tent. And like I don't want to ever sound like I never have regrets, right? I'm glad I did van life. I'm glad I did tent life. I'm glad I did farm life. I'm glad, like, I'm so grateful for every experience. It's so cool. Life is so cool. But I did feel like I was cleaning up the mess of that chaos. And I was, getting to this place where I am now, where it's stability. It's my own environment. For the first time, having like my own house and yard, and like I don't live with anybody. There's no like having to calibrate to somebody else's energy. And I had this, but I was in the van and it was not as predictable. Like living in the hay barn, although it was my family land, there was some stuff going on with like neighbors and like drug stuff, like I had mentioned in the very beginning of arriving in Ireland, and I didn't quite feel safe. Like my whole family was just like, you're gonna get murdered out there. Like they were way more scared, but I didn't feel that, but there was that undercurrent of that, of course. And so feeling like very safe here, feeling very stable here. Yeah, it's taking adjustments. My nervous system is adjusting to this. And so I've cleaned up the mess. I've arrived here. I finally, made the decisions in alignment with peace. And now it's getting to know peace, creating from peace, and manifesting from peace. And so today I sat down with like just kind of my journal, and I was like, what are we doing here? Like now I'm regulated. I moved through some of like the stuff with the mold, and now the mold's gone and my symptoms are gone, and like I found out how to get groceries and like the best way to do things, and I got to know the land here. I got to know some people here. I'm settled for the most part. Like I'm pretty settled. Like there's still more I'm gonna get to know, of course, but I found a routine here in Portugal. And so now I'm like sitting back down with my creations, and I just started, really looking at things, and it felt good and it felt different. And so that's why I'm really excited for the New Year's Eve celebration. So it kind of felt like a little practice round of that, of like what we're gonna do in the, not celebration, but New Year's Eve ceremony. If you want to join me in that, there's going to be journaling to really close all the lessons of 2025 and like your whole life up until this point, and to get the downloads, the upgrades, whatever you're meant to receive, the clarity. Like I've received so much clarity now on what that all was that I didn't have before. And so closing the door, getting the clarity, all that, and then getting really clear on like who you are now in this timeline of 2026, the end of a 9-year cycle. Like this 2026 is like, it's not just a new year, it is the new timeline, it is the new earth emerging. It's why a lot of us came here, is for this time here on earth. So like what kind of clothes you want to wear, what physical appearance you want to have, how you want to carry yourself, the habits that you'll have. Like we'll go deep into all that, into your love, your home, your career, your health, like all that. It'll be a really nice journaling exercise that I usually do with like my girlfriends on New Year's Eve when I'm with my friends. So you can do it with a friend if you want to get the ceremony, not celebration, it's kind of celebration, and do it with friends or whatever you want to do. Do it by yourself, have a cozy night in. I think it'll be like a few hours, maybe like a couple hours. So then there'll be the clearing. So we're gonna go from every angle and do the clearings, cutting the cords and all the different things that we talk about often on here. An energy upgrade, DNA upgrade, like a health energy clearing, and like removing toxins, parasites, blah, 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 energetically. And then moving into the vision board part too. And so I was getting some photos ready last night in the bathtub, which I'm like so grateful to have a bathtub again. And I was just getting photos together on Pinterest. And so yeah, if you want to join the ceremony, that is linked below. I'm really excited to put that all together and to have this plan now with clarity, like to form it from clarity instead of chaos. So I think that that is the message today, is like I wanted to just walk you through what this process has been, and also this adjustment period of being in the new timeline. And like the nervous system really does take a sec to be like, oh, this is who you are now. This is the new level of expansion of like having like a new, like having a house, having a, like being a part of society again, like just like being this version of me now, operating in peace. And so there's an adjustment and the body's going through all these different things. And so I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna go inside before it starts raining, and I will see you in the next video. If you want to join Dream Life Sleep Hypnosis and the ceremony, I will try and put that in a comment if I remember and pin that, or you can find it in the description. I have my other programs as well, my 21-day programs or my 12-week program, all in the description. And Substack and Patreon. All right, I love you guys, and I will see you later.